about the peace which was afforded to us by the Almighty. So, umasithandaza, most often times, we must not forget to also pray for peace. Peace in our hearts, peace in our families, peace in our situations, and peace in the land. And today I'm just going to share about a very, very rhetoric sentence that all of us know. And you might take it for granted as much as peace. You might take it for granted, but the topic of tonight is God is not a man to lie. God is not a man to lie. So that is my topic for this evening that I've prepared. And I would like to start it in this sense that if he says it is so, it will be so. Now, this is despite anything that can happen in our lives. I know that so many things can happen in our lives, and our lives are complex as human beings. Each and every time they say a road is not a road if it doesn't have a bend. Somewhere, somehow, impilo iyachinja ibende. A road will always bend at some point. So in this instance, I would like to contrast it with this. God is not a man that he should lie. I would like to share what we saw in the first book of Genesis, when he tells Adam that if you eat of this fruit, you shall surely die in that day. So if we open to the book of Genesis, it's in chapter 2. And angazi noma ukhona ozosibambela yona incwadi, chapter 2 verse 16 and 17, on the second chapter of Genesis, 16 and 17. You will see something very, very interesting that I would like to bring your attention to. Chapter 2. Angazi noma ukhona ongasifundela, Sister Millie?
No, Sister Millie is not joining us, Pastor.
No, pardon me. All right. Oh, can I read it? Let me read it. It's chapter 2, verse 16 and 17. It says, God also gave his command to the man, from every tree of the garden you may eat to satisfaction. 17, but as for the tree of the knowledge of good and bad, you must not eat from it. For in the day you eat from it, you will certainly die. Let me remind us, it says, in the day you eat of it, you will certainly die. Meaning that if you partake in the fruit in that particular day, you will surely die. But you will see that there is something.
Okay, Saints, I think we have lost Brother Stone there. I'm not sure whether he's being distracted by an incoming call or not. Can we just, as I was saying, what can we just give it a few minutes? I'm sure he will join again. Okay.
Okay, am I in now?
Yes, you are in. We lost you when we
I'm
lost
so
you when you said If you eat, you will surely die.
Yes, if you eat of it, you will surely die in that day. Then I would like us to look at 2 Peter chapter 3. 2 Peter chapter 3. Angazi noma ukhona ongazivulela yona, because sometimes it seems better uma omunye wethu eyifunda, and then I can then go deeper in it. 2 Peter chapter 3. Is there anybody osekayitholile? Bazalwane? 2 Peter.
Okay, let me try and look for it. 2 Peter chapter.
Yes. 2 Peter chapter 3.
Okay. 2 Peter chapter 3
verse 8 and 9. And when you read it, kindly read it slowly, for there is something in between the lines.
But do not forget this one thing, dear friends. With the Lord, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is like a day. The Lord is not slow in keeping his promise, as some understand.
Thank you so much. I think you read the secret there. A day to the Lord is but 1,000 years. And then, so now, with the understanding that one day is what is equals to 1,000 years, can you imagine to a man or to mankind, 1,000 years, it seems like many, many years. But to God, 1,000 years is one day. If you look at Genesis chapter 2, verse 16, it says, in the day you partake of the fruit, surely you will die. But something is amazing then, if you look at Genesis chapter 5, it says, but if you can kindly open Genesis chapter 5 for us, at verse 5, you will see now, when we bring it into perspective, there is a secret there at Genesis chapter 5 at verse 5. Because in Genesis 2, 16 and 17, it says, if you partake on the fruit on that particular day, surely you will die. But then something happens at Genesis 5, verse 5. Can you kindly read it for us?
Okay. Genesis 5, verse 5. And all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died.
So you will see, Uguti, when Adam received the command, he was told, Uguti, on that particular day you will die. But we see that he didn't die. In the sight of men, he lived. Remember, our topic for today is, God is not a man that he should lie. God did instruct Adam, Uguti, on that particular day, if you partake of this, you shall surely die. Yet he lived up until 930 years. Meaning that to God, if a day is 1,000, in the sight of God, he did not even reach a day. If we go now to Genesis chapter 5, verse 1. Kindly read it for us, Simbali. Genesis chapter 5, verse 1, and we will stop at verse 4. Hallelujah. All right. Have you found it, Simbali? It It's the first book in the Bible.
Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Saint, can you please note that I'm writing at the same time I'm reading? So can you help me take notes, especially that important? Yeah, especially that important part, Yoguti. So according to the word, Adam didn't live even a day.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, Sis Man, about that. And I'm aware you are doing other things in the background, but I'm so sorry to overburden you. Bazalwane, is there somebody else who would like to read it for us so that I can go deeper in the subject? I was just trying to lay the foundation so that we can go ahead with our subject.
Let me finish. Okay, Genesis chapter 5, verse 1. This is the book of the generation. Okay, where am I reading? When God created mankind, he made them in the likeness of God.
Yeah, until verse 4.
He created male and female and blessed them. And he named them mankind. When they were created, 3, when Adam had lived 130 years, he had a son in his own likeness and he's in his own image, and he named him Seth. Yes.
Thank you so much. Siyabonga. At the age of 130, Adam had another child. Now, if we look back, the instruction is, do not partake in this fruit, because if you partake in this fruit, you shall surely die on that day. But then we can see Ugutu Adam, he lived up until 930 years before he died. He had sons and daughters after his likeness, even though at some point uyawatshelwa ukuthi do not partake in this. And the mangathi uyacheka abaningi bazu uCain no Abel, and then probably uSeth naye, it crosses your mind which is Adam's son. Kodwa abanye asibazi. It's almost like they just went in vain in this earth without any significance. So if God says, do not do 1, 2, 3, but then we proceed to do it, imisebenzi yethu, it will not be seen, valued, or recorded in the sight of the Almighty. Yet you might be very famous in the world, have lots of money, have things, but to God you are dead. Just like Adam, he was told, if you do it, you shall surely die. Even though you still live, but in God's sight you are dead. Even though you are still successful, you acquire the top education in the world, you acquire so much degrees, even as hot as a barometer, but then to God you don't mean anything, because then your significance has diminished. Because God says, God is not a man that he should lie. His word does not return void. Whatever he says, he means it. Hence, that is why we have to pray without ceasing. Because praying without ceasing, it's like siyamncenga umdali ukuthi usengumdali. Siyamkhumbula ukuthi usengumdali. So 1,000 years passes by, it's hardly a day, yet Adam died at 930. Let us look at Numbers. Numbers chapter 23. I am so sorry, but I'm hoping that it's going to last you for the whole week so that you can be perusing through it throughout the week. So it's Numbers 23, verse 19. But I'm going to read this one. I'm just going through my Bible. It's Numbers 23, verse 19. This is a very, very famous scripture, and I'm going to read it. It goes as such. God is not a mere man who tells lies, nor a son of man who changes his mind. When he says something, he will not fulfill it. That's the word of the Lord. You have arranged or confirmed ukuthi this is our deal, is like this. And they can even confirm it. They can even sign documents to say, yes, it's going to be like this. But after a while, izinto zijike, zishintshe. Can you imagine the hurt that somebody else feels as a result of that? Now, God is not a man that he should lie, meaning with God, we can never feel those feelings because among even our prophet Jeremiah, I'm reminded of our prophet Jeremiah in Jeremiah 31, verse 36, if I can remember, 35 or 36. Let me just check it quickly. 31, I'm going to start at 35. This is what the Lord says, who gives the sun for light by day, the laws of the moon and the stars for the light at night, who stirs up the seas and make its waves boisterous, whose name is the Lord of armies. Now, verse 36 it says, if these regulations should ever fail, declares the Lord, only then would the offspring of Israel cease as a nation before me. Meaning, if God loses the ordinance of the sun and the moon, if Sasuya Vuvuga and then there's no sun, if tonight you actually go out of your home and you look up and there are no stars, there is no moon, then God is saying, if he loses all of that, then the seed of Israel shall cease to be a nation. So for as long as the seed of Israel is there, it means we are going to have the moon, the sun, the sky, all the ordinances and all the things in it. It means that God is still God. That's what he is saying. So Bazalwa, to bring it to our attention. And God is uninterrupted in the way that he governs his earth. God is his almighty. Whatever you pray, and you pray for it diligently, it is going to happen because you are his son. If you pray diligently about you, you remember last we spoke even about each other's voices. When you pray to the Almighty, he knows your voice. He definitely knows your voice. So if you cry out to him, because he is a faithful master, your prayers will not come back void. I would also like to share a small story for all of us. And most often time, I have got a connection with a small province which is called Limpopo, and there's a small story that derived from there some time back, which was narrated to me some few weeks back, and I said one day I'm going to share it Nabazalwane, and I found it very intriguing, and I found it very, very spiritual at the same time. So this was in a village in Limpopo in Begersfort, and there was a man called David who lived with some creatures in the farm. They had a very, very big farm, and each creature had their own place in the farm. So they will mind their own business, and no one paid much attention to what the other was doing. So you had a rat, there was a pigeon, there was a rooster, and a goat. I will repeat that again. A rat, a pigeon, a rooster, and a goat. So one day David's wife, she complained, as women would always do. Says, somebody, that was just a joke. I don't mean that. It's just a joke. So as women would always do. So that she was complaining about the rat because it was busy messing around and creating havoc in the place. And then, frustrated, she decided to get a mouse trap. And she got this mouse trap, and Mr. David promised that definitely he's going to make sure that he traps the rat so that it is then eliminated from the farm, because it messes up everything. So when the rat overheard this, now he immediately knew that he was in trouble. So he was busy thinking to himself, and then he ran to the pigeon for help. He ran to the pigeon and says, "Please help, I'm in trouble. They're setting up a trap for me." Then the pigeon very arrogantly flapped its wings, saying, "I am a pigeon. What business do I have with a mouse trap in any case?" And then with no assistance, the mouse ran to the rooster. My friend, please help me. My life is in danger. My master and the wife they want to kill me. This is what they want to do. They've organized the mouse trap for me. And then the pigeon says, "Well, pardon me," the rooster says, "Well, these people, they give me food, they give me water, they give me shelter, and I love it here. So why should I worry about the mouse?" Then he was very discouraged. Then the mouse, with desperation, it went over to the goat, asking for help. Then the goat laughed very, very loud, saying to the mouse, "But that's your problem. With mouse, I don't have mice problem." Then the wife at night was interrupted by a clicking sound. It just went tick, 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 tick. And she immediately knew that something was caught in the mouse trap. Then she went to check, and then she discovered that a green snake was the one which was actually caught in the trap. A green mamba. And David's wife went to check on it, thinking that it was a rat. Then a very venomous snake, it bit her, and then she was very, very unconscious and very, very ill. She had to be rushed to the hospital. So through the panic, David, the husband, then rushed to the local traditional healer, because the hospitals, they were very, very far. So he didn't want to risk the life of the wife, and they just went to this traditional healer, who advised him that he's got an idea. It's better that he make pigeon soup for recovery to sort out everything. So the pigeon was caught, and then the rat watched very silently, thinking, "Yeah, you said it wasn't your problem, but look who is at stake now." After drinking the soup, the relatives of the wife visited her, and hearing the news that she was sick, David suggested a feast to celebrate. So David slaughtered a rooster for the meal in the afternoon. Then the rat just watched, and he thought to himself, "You said it was not your problem, but now look what's happening now." As the news of recovery of the wife were more and more from the village, more and more people came. Family came, and David's family came, and David then decided, "You know what? Since we are going to be receiving so many people, let's have a big feast of celebration." And this time, he slaughtered the goat. As the goat was being prepared, the rat sighed, realizing that in the end, everyone was affected. And then he understood the powerful truth. When someone is in trouble, it eventually reaches to all of us. What is the moral of this story, Batandega? Never say it's not my problem. All of us human beings, we are interconnected, whether we like it or not. When we ignore other people's struggles, we will find suffering somewhere, somehow in our lives as well. It will always cause us that we see because things will happen, and they must happen in our lives. So if we think of a scenario in a workplace, think about it in this environment. A colleague is so overwhelmed and no one helps, the burden grows until the entire team suffers. Imagine in your car, if your car was a person and then itaya elilodwa liyaphantsha kancane kancane, and then this one is crying, please ngicela ningipompeni kancane ukuthi nami ngikhona ukurana efficiently. Laba abanye abayi-3 bathi hayi asizingeni thina, we are not on the left or we are not on the right hand side or we are not in front or backwards, but badecida ukuyeka lo ukuthi asafare. Did you know if you did not inflate your tires properly, it makes your petrol consumption goes high? Did you know if you did not inflate your tire properly, it can even take your car out of wheel alignment? Kusho ukuthi imoto ayisabhalansi. Mawuthi ubambalela curb laphaya ekhoneni just because of one tire which is not pumped at its maximum, imoto it will skid or it will spin, causing a heavy car accident. Just because laba abanye abayi-3 baye bahlangana bathi hayi lo asimyekeni ukuthi asafare. Little did they know ukuthi wonke umuntu sekayasafara because of umuntu oyi-1. Kube siyesama egaraji sapompa nje itayire eli-1, we all could have been saved. Sometimes there are some other kids, we need to talk to them even if we are not their parents. You will find that you will be saving that kid, and that particular kid one day will marry your child. If you just said, no, it's not our problem, I am telling you, in one way or the other, you will find that you will be affected. In a family, if one member suffers and the other turns a blind eye, resentment and division will follow. In a society, problems such as poverty, injustice, and environmental damage will not seem much at the immediate effect, but over time it will shape the way that we share our vision. It will shape the way that we share our lives. It's going even to affect the air that we breathe. Did you know you can be sick just because of the air that you breathe? I mean, if you look at COVID, it was an airborne disease. There's also a disease called diphtheria that they don't talk much about, but it's an airborne disease. In Johannesburg, just take a walk about. You will smell the drainage. The drainage is not good for inhaling because it causes something phakathi emaphashini wakho. You will smell that there is a lot of urine which is there in the place. Urine which is there, it's not good for us because it causes something emaphashini wakho in your lungs. So you will find by us just neglecting and turning a blind eye, ultimately things are going to be bad for us. Ultimately things are going to be bad for our children. Ultimately things are going to be bad even for our country. Last I was listening to the news, but balungisela G20 meeting which is going to take place later sometime this year. And all of a sudden, manje sekune budget ukuthi balungise i-drought. All of a sudden, sekune budget ukuthi balungise some of the things just to host our visitors here. Why now? Why bavuka manje ukuthi there is a budget? Because they are pushing a perception yokuthi sibukeke kahle. But then abanandaba nabantu, as it were. Because if bebanendaba nabantu bebengeke bayihluphe kakhulu kanje. It's almost like if you are saying you are going to receive guests, and when you are going to receive guests in your house, you start doing deep cleaning now, spring cleaning, and you are doing all of it. Uba frustrated, ushintsha amakhethini, kuba nje nesinye spring cleaning for the whole week, ongeke understand. But if you were cleaning every day and it was your lifestyle, and you hear that somebody is going to be visiting, you just pop up here and there. You don't even put yourself under tremendous strain. So what are we saying? We are saying always be on guard. Always be on guard. Always do good. Whatever you do, please remember that God gave you that opportunity. He gave you that power. He gave you at least that particular shield over your head. He gave you at least a roof over your head. He gave you amandla ukuthi uthenge some food for your family, some water to drink, beautiful cold